I haven't been here for a little bit. Maybe you'll maybe they'll have a new interview for me, considering I'm now an accused murderer. That might lead to a new interview. Because the main piece of information we have to go on right now... I couldn't learn much about Milton Pearce. All I know is that he lives somewhere in Reed Heights and is currently running for mayor. He had an interview in the newspaper recently. That is awful convenient. It is really funny that we're like, I don't know. Don't know much about this guy. We might be in some trouble. Oh, he's running for mayor? Wow. It can be really easy to get info on him then, isn't it? Gotcha.
Stay safe.
When is part 2 of this interview happening? Aren't we really far in the game by now? I think she said, like, don't want to overload them. We'll be back with more interview later. Officials, I guess? Running for mayor. Current events. And Reed Heights. Nope. That's probably current events, but... commoners? Celebrities. No. Well, after the flood. There it is. Pearce's interview. Today our correspondent had the chance to roam the beautiful alleyways of eastern Reed Heights, all for the sake of interviewing one of the most promising political figures in Oakmont. Pearce's property, an apartment building tucked away on Museum Avenue between Communion Road and Helog Street. Way to fucking dox them, fucking newspaper. Jeez. Is definitely a grand sight, but Mr. Pearce takes pains to assure us that he is in touch with the needs of the humble man, meeting regularly and with community leaders. I'm sure standards are completely different now versus then, but I'm just thinking immediately, like, they're a public figure and you're like, I'm gonna publish their fucking address in the newspaper. What was wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Is that it's like, I have no idea what to compare it with in the context of the story, but in modern society, I'm just like, every part of my brain is angry at the same time. Museum Avenue. These ones just don't have street names. They just fade away. I guess I do have street names. This is Bourbon Road. There's aren't any labels locally on that part of the area. Anyway, Museum Avenue, between Communion and Helog. Helog. And Communion. There we go. Still though, don't dox people. Especially when they live in Cthulhu'sville. They're gonna end up super dead if people know where they live. It's just generally a bad move. Hello. You guys chose the darkest place in the entire city to read a newspaper. Well, one of you's reading, the other one's drinking. One of you's in the right place, one of you's in the wrong place. There's daylight right over there. Also, aren't you a little worried about this? Were you driving this till it overheated? Were you both in this car? What's the environmental storytelling here? Is somebody driving around enough to even warrant overheating their vehicle? This is like a 3-block total neighborhood, and then it's surrounded by water. So like, who's driving a car around enough that they even have to worry about the radiator going out or whatever's going on here? But also, why aren't you reading the newspaper over here on the nice sunny like area, even though it is raining outside, which is even worse for the whole newspaper thing, because like that's gonna get all wet. Like that's gotta be a pain. It already looks pretty gross actually for newspaper. Where is Oakmont getting all of its wood and paper from? Do they have active trade routes to the outside world, or are they an isolationist culture? It seemed like they maybe don't have a lot of connection to the other areas. That seemed that way, because like you're not even allowed to leave the city. Like people, you're stuck here, like in Pathologic. Like anybody who is in this city is like trapped here for life, seemingly. Like you have to smuggle people out of here because it's so hard to get out. But they have enough paper to print a daily newspaper, and somebody is for some reason driving in this area. And they still... And where are they getting their gas from to power the vehicle? Like, that vehicle is recently used. Like, all the vehicles that are here from before the flood, I'm like, okay, cool, I gotcha. This used to be a normal city. So, like, the ruined remains of abandoned vehicles all make sense. But an actively used vehicle that's breaking down... There's also these ones, flaming car pileups, where I'm like, am I supposed to think that they all crashed into each other and are now on fire? Because they just crashed into each other and a horrible crash just happened, like, today? Why were they driving so fast to have a 3-car pileup? How... that direction, it doesn't have a street in it. Where was he coming from? That's the water. How does could these even drive fast enough to hit each other so hard that they would flip each other over and like cause a massive pileup the way that modern cars do? Weren't they kind of shitty? Because they're like the first cars practically. But also, like, where were they going? This is the entire area. It's just University and City Hall, and these 3 streets between them is the entire drivable area for vehicles. And yet these cars have hit each other so recently that there's like a pileup that's currently on fire, and yet they also look rusted and abandoned and so on. Is it supposed to be like a hobo fire? Like they just thought, you know what, I could use some warmth for my homelessness. I'll light something on fire, like that over there. But I'm gonna light the fucking cars on fire, and then I'm gonna walk away. Like, did you realize, oh right, there's just a can to burn, so I'll stand by the burning can instead of the burning cars? That was a stupid idea. What if it explodes or something? And everyone's just walking around casually like it's just nothing. And it's just nothing. And like this is, there's some point to my ranting, which is just that like, they made a detail-oriented genre entry because we're a detective man who's supposed to look at fine details and poke around. And when you make a giant, detailed world, you're supposed to care about the details all around you and like look at them and be like, oh, what does this say about the environment? And things like that. But like on top of having the same businesses' signs repeat everywhere, showing that this is just a copy-pasted world and everything, there's just details like these cars and stuff like that, where I'm just like, what am I supposed to make of this in universe? Is this guy writing a fucking ticket for the burning cars? Like, on one hand, you might be thinking, oh, I'm just sprinting around from waypoint to waypoint, not paying a lot of attention to my environment, not taking in the details. But whenever I take in the details, I'm like, what the fuck? I can't make any sense of what's happening in this world. And it's one thing when there's horrible monsters and stuff like that, it's like, oh wow, you guys just have become numb to the fact that weird armadillo, rat, spider, scorpions are just walking around. Freaky. Like that's one of those surreal things that actually adds to the world a bit. Like, wow, something that fucked up is commonplace to you people. And that was kind of established by the fact that I went to a horrible dock full of gore and nonsense and weird monsters, creatures just walking around as... That guy's gonna walk directly into the fire. There was like weird nightmare monsters like crawling around and skittering everywhere, and then I talked to an ape man immediately. Like that kind of world building is actually kind of cool, because like, oh wow, this is so surreal how like everyone's just used to this shit apparently, and I'm the weird one for thinking it's weird apparently. But then there's stuff like this where I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this contextualized like it's a recent thing? And where's the paper come from? Do they have enough paper? Isn't everybody starving in this universe? I thought everybody was starving. And like, there's all these resource shortages, but like, they can print a newspaper for the entire city on a daily basis. They have a functioning newspaper. I don't know. Whenever I try to think about this universe, it just rejects anything that I can try to apply to it. Which is why I mostly just try to run past it and not pay attention to these details and just go to the next waypoint, because I'm like, what is usually my main takeaway. Look at this asshole, couldn't even do graffiti on an open piece of wall. They're like, they ran out of space and just plunked into the window, and they're like, I don't know, I'll just do that thing where I just leave off whatever letters don't fit, I guess, because I can't just change my lettering to fit the open space around it. And like the go-to response will always be like, well, they're not a AAA mega company, so They can't handle a world this big and filling it all with details, to which I would say, good. Don't make the giant world, because the giant sprawling map, which is way bigger than Pathologics, by the way, does not add anything to the experience. It's just empty blocks of repeating textures and repeating buildings, so like it's just padding. So like, if it's outside of the scope of what their studio can do, and it doesn't complement the gameplay, and it's this kind of weird mess, then like, just why did they do it at all? Hello? Are you waiting for Mayor? Wow. He's proud of himself. How are these simultaneously newly printed flyers and they're aged and frayed at the same time? Aren't you running for mayor right now? These aren't ancient documents. Why do they look like they're from Fallout 3? Breaking and entering.
They must be taking his election campaign very seriously.
Apparently not. He printed those out like, what, a year ago, and then just let them sit in the dampness and dryness and fray at all the edges and become gross and grody. I wouldn't want to vote for the guy that looks like has a post-apocalypse flyer. Probably gonna fuck up the whole city. That's his standards for his flyers.
Someone got changed here in a hurry.
Like, you can't even make the excuse that, like, the whole universe is dirty, because look how nice his bedroom is. By this game's standards, it is spotless in here. This entire house is, like, doesn't even look like, except for the, no, that's just the stucco. Yeah, look at this place, except for the bloody handprint.
This guy sure had some blood on his hands. Literally.
Aside from the bloody handprint, it's like spotless and beautiful in here in a way that I've never seen before in this game, even in like the mansions of the rich people. And yet his flyers are like aged. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with the setting around us. A note to Milton Pearce. Milton, my earnest friend, it's been a while since we last met, and I wish to remind you that my door is always open to you to pay me a visit. How about we finally hold that seance we've been talking about for so long? I expect to see you at the Crown Theater soon. Warmly yours, Johannes. Well, that's damning. A lot of really specific details, almost as if Johannes was like laying the groundwork for specifically showing that that guy was at that location where he was about to die. Like, I just think back to like Tacoma and stuff like that, where I'm just like, oh, a brilliant, carefully detailed, small environment where all this environmental storytelling can really take off. And a lot of those games, like Tacoma and Gone Home and stuff, were from people that used to work on like BioShock games, which is the game that really popularized this modern iteration of really, really heavy environmental focused storytelling in games, which is what likely influenced this game specifically. And when they're busy making mid to low tier budget games, they make games that aren't this. And then they focus on all the details, because you kind of can't do both. And I feel like we've had a good 10 years to learn that lesson, and we keep having companies that can't handle a giant crazy world try to do a giant crazy world. My fellow Oakmonters, I read it as monsters for a second there. From this day forward, a new vision will guide our city. From this day forward, it will be Oakmont first. Every decision made on trade, on fishery, on newcomers and Innsmouthers will be made to benefit the people of Oakmont. We must protect the boundaries of our city from both outsiders and the forces of nature. Let's make Oakmont great again. Wow, that's incredibly subtle, that thing you just did. Alright, so we're going against Cthulhu Trump. He reads The Prince from Machiavelli? Are you fucking kidding me? God damn it.
Is he planning to become the Prince of Oakmont, or is this just some light read?
The easy read, it says the easy, that's really funny, that says the easy reading series on top. Just because the easy reading version of The Prince is just like, it sounds really funny when you put those words together. I read that I took political philosophy, I read that book. It's not a great sign. Although I don't think that Trump has read The Prince.
They definitely kept some dirty clothes here. You can see the blood splatter. Someone got changed here in a hurry.
You can see the blood splatter. Why is the pile of dirty, bloody clothes under the basket? Like, that's the hamper for laundry, right? But somehow, did they pick up the laundry basket and put it on top of the bloody clothes pile? Like, what in the world? Why would you do that? Why is that a thing you would do?
Emptier than a banker's heart.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. New candidate for mayor. While Milton Pearce may not be the fully fledged member of the Oakmont legislature, he has already proven his fitness for the role during his election campaign, not only in word but also in deed. First, Mr. Pearce has prepared and put into operation a new water supply project for Oakmont. He's also actively engaged in greening of the city, planting trees in suburban areas and proposing new park spaces for recreation and community events. Second, his campaign promises seem to have struck a chord with the public. Most notably, Pearce has advocated for the construction of a wall around Oakmont to prevent the influx of newcomers. Is it just hyperbole, or could Pearce really do it? We'll find out if and when he wins the election. A wall around... It's a fucking coastal city, you idiot. I know that we're trying to, like, really ham-fist the allegory here, but, like, it's water everywhere. Also, I've been diving in here. It's a hell of a dive. Like, it gets deep fast. The undertow is like right there. In fact, you can see it on the map because this map has topographic lines, which in nice little detail here, by the way. Like, you can see that the area that is the port has the deepest water right here. It's like that would make sense because you'd want to have clearance for the ships and everything. And so, like, you see the closer the lines are together. I guess I should explain this because some people don't understand what these are. In particular, I learned what these were really young, and then I took geology and geography and so on, and I had to explain to other people in the class how to read these maps because I guess not everybody knows them. I think I learned them from video games, though, so I might be talking to the people more likely to understand them, because weirdly, you start learning things about maps from video games. But basically, every topographic line here is always the same altitude, like the entire duration of this line. So, like, if you took just pick arbitrary altitudes, like, well, in this case, this line would be sea level, obviously, because it's a cliff. Although I'm not sure. Wait, that doesn't make any sense, does it? No. Yeah, I'm thinking about any maps I've ever seen. This map... Oh, shit, I don't know if this map works. Huh. But anyway, if you... Let's say this is like 20 feet below sea level is this line. If you follow the line continuously around the entire map, every single part where you see that, that's still negative 20 feet. It's 20 feet below sea level, or whatever the interval is, because I don't know if there's a key on here anywhere. That would be what those things mean. And so every time you go out one line further from the coastline, that would be another 10 feet below sea level, or whatever the interval each line represents. So the further you get out, the deeper it gets. A lot of video game maps in particular are really helpful in that they also colorize it a bit, so you can see the zones here. They make it darker the deeper it gets, so you can further understand what you're looking at here. And so this is the deepest part as far as the mapping goes. Then the topographic lines just stop, I guess. So that's just how deep they wanted to go. Just how far they mapped it. When I talked about something potentially not making sense, it was this, because I think this is a natural... I could go take a look at it later, maybe. It might be some kind of artificial cliff or something, but I think this was supposed to be a natural cliff, in which case these topographic lines wouldn't cut through it like that. Because if it's natural, then it would have to get shallower and shallower as it reached this cliff. The steeper the cliff, the closer together the lines would be, because it would be changing in height very quickly. But they wouldn't cut through it as if this place doesn't matter. that would be what you expect from like a concrete structure, like if a big artificial thing was in the way. But I think this was like it was supposed to be like a ridge of rock that sticks out and maybe has a lighthouse out here or something like that. And if it's that, then yeah, the topographic lines should be curving along this edge around the cliff here, because they should be getting closer and closer together, kind of like this, where this is really steep as they get close to this, because because this line is sea level, because that's where it becomes land. Whereas like something like anything that's artificial that sticks out doesn't matter as much. Here, yeah, here's actually closer to what it should look like. You can see like it gets shallower and shallower, closer to where the gulf of this structure is, which is funny because I think this one might be artificial and this one might be natural, but I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at it sometime, just out of curiosity. It's hard to tell from here. But yeah, a lot of the stuff could be naturally formed, so that'd be fine. Oh, now I'm curious about this. So that's, yeah, oh yeah. Like you might be like thinking like, why does it get dark, then not dark, then dark again? But if we follow this inside layer, it should curve back to the shoreline, because it's like a localized high point. And there it goes. Like there's something that makes the water especially deep here, and then shallow again, then deep again, apparently. And these must be, I guess these are supposed to be waves. I guess this texture is supposed to be the waves of like the ocean currents coming in. I don't know why they changed direction over here though. My first reflex was to think that these were supposed to represent like ridges that are under the earth. But then I was noticing that the topography completely ignores these things. So then I was thinking it's waves. But then I thought it was a little weird that like out here the waves look like they're kind of going in the opposite direction from in here. I don't know. Trying to make some sense of this. Yeah, here, this is a terrible place to have. Oh god. This is supposed to be a harbor? I think this is supposed to, yeah, there's boats here and everything, which, why there's weird, decrepit, fucked up drawings of boats on your map is a little weird, but this is the shallowest layer right here. This is only slightly below sea level. So you wouldn't want to have the boats coming into here, but this could be a recently flooded area where it was supposed to be out here more, but even then, no, this is all one continuous topographic area. So this is the same depth as this, all the way over here, which is like this by the street. So you can't get boats in here. I can only imagine that maybe the flood changed moved a bunch of soil around and just made this place useless, would be my best excuse for why it looks like this. Because it's incredibly shallow all the way out to here, and yet this seems to be an area that boats are supposed to be in. And boats would not be able to go there because they'd be hitting ground, most likely. Whereas this one actually makes a lot of sense as a dock. So like, I don't know. Things seem a little spotty and confusing in their portrayal. Because this makes sense mostly. I think. It's a little weird how it's getting shallower than, it seems to be getting shallower than deeper than shallower again over here. I don't know. I'd have to take a look. But anyway, I would not, based on my amateur bachelor level geology degree information, I would not recommend building a fucking wall around this city, given that it's a coastal city, it's surrounded by water, and also very deep in many of these cases. But also, you have like 4 harbors. You're not going to be able to keep unwanted people out very well when most of your city is boats. Like, if they really want in, they can get in. The bigger concern is that nobody really wants in, except for the only people trying to get into the city, as far as I can tell, are the Chosen, because the Chosen are being called here by visions. And if they're literally going mad from their desire to get in here, they're probably not going to be able to keep them out anyway. But that doesn't matter, because these are all logical arguments, and racism is not a logical concept. It's all about emotion and rage and othering and so on. So all that really matters is that he's using the same platform that countless people have used in order to get elected, which is just being a big fuss about how all of your problems are made by these people, and I'm the only people who you can save you from them, which is kind of the basis of like the majority of political campaigns, is that you just come out and be like, here's a unique problem that I've maybe completely invented whole cloth, but I'm the only person who can save you from it. And then you just rally people into believing that your problem, that A, that problem exists, and B, that you're the fix to that problem, and lo and behold, you can get elected. Hooray.
The shape is familiar. I've seen similar daggers before.
Boy, have we. Letter from EOD. Mr. Pearce, on behalf of our community, I want to express a huge gratitude for everything you do for us. Very few of the stakeholders here show compassion to the Innsmouther descendants, and you are a rare exception. Please accept this dagger as a sign of our friendship and proof that we maintain this connection. No one from our side will dare harm you. Yours, Anna Cavendish. Letter from Throgmorton. Dear Mr. Pearce, despite all the differences we might have had in the past, I can't but admit that today I see you as one of the most promising candidates for mayor. Oakmont needs a strong hand, which you surely can provide. Don't expect any financial support from my side. I believe one running for mayor should possess the requisite financial means, but otherwise, you will have my full assistance. Respectfully, Robert Throgmorton. You want to be mayor, you better already be a rich boy. I don't want any filthy commoners running for mayor in my city, so I'm against the concept of financial assistance of any kind, because you better have the gumption already. I need very little convincing to find out. Oh, you mean people in this universe are bad?
The blood was spurting out of him, Robert. Just spurting out. Oh, it's all over me.
Is Throgmorton here? Or is it a different Robert? Are they just drinking?
Ah, where's my Dane tie? I should have been at City Hall by now. Voters won't meet and greet themselves. Get these out of my sight, Robert. Isn't that why we have a laundry room downstairs?
Time to figure this out.
No, so Robert is the... Okay. So Robert is his house servant.
The blood was spurting out of him, Robert. Just spurting out. Oh, it's all over me. Ah, get these out of my sight, Robert. Isn't that why we have a laundry room downstairs?
Milton Pearce came home covered in blood. He ordered his butler to take his clothes downstairs and went to meet voters at City Hall.
It's a good thing we're a psychic, boy. Oop. Lore. So much lore. What are we going to do with all of this lore? Okay. Yeah. Maximize the inventory. Inventory is officially capped out. Crafting efficiency is capped out. There we go. Key evidence collected. Oh, all evidence collected. There it goes. We did it. Was there anything to do upstairs? That door doesn't open. There is downstairs. But it looks really familiar. And is likely basically empty. Need more gunpowder. You can't carry any more springs. Who do you think you are?
Based on past experience, leaving it here was not the best idea. The smell of blood can attract all sorts of unwanted visitors.
Interestingly, that wasn't even evidence. It counted as all evidence collected before I found that. I guess because I already found another instance of bloody clothes. It's really hard to defend myself when they're coming after me, because I am definitely explicitly just breaking into people's houses on the regular at this point. That's just like my thing. Hello. Wow, she was not pleased to see me in there. She turned right the hell around. Alright, so you said they're going to City Hall. Yep. Murder was blackmailed. There's blood spatter. Pearce was close to Vandenberg when he was killed and got his outfit spattered in blood. Yep. There's an alibi. Bloodied clothes. The bloody clothes in Pearce's house can be used as evidence against him. Still, I'll need something more to accuse him. You're being very optimistic, is what I would say. I don't know if I'd put faith in this city to have a criminal justice system that cares enough to go check out a specific location to, like, investigate bloody clothes and then, like, even piece together what's going on and so on. I also largely think that whatever Throgmorton feels like doing is often, like, largely more important than what the police feel like is important. People seem to just go largely off of how they feel a lot of the stuff. But what do I know? This place has a functioning newspaper, and this car fire's been on fire for like 3 weeks at this point. This guy's been writing the ticket the entire time. Thankfully, I'm like right by City Hall. Neat.
Oh, stop bothering me, newcomer.
Do I smell different or something? They can always tell so well that I am. Exactly that.
Good day, Mr. Pearce. Bet you didn't expect to see me.
How are you here? You should be in jail.
I have good friends who bailed me out. I just want to talk.
Well, okay, if you wish.
I really do come across as the bad guy in that conversation. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in jail. It's like, oh, I've got powerful friends. I'm like, oh, okay, am I the antagonist now?
Why did you claim I did it?
Excuse me? Why wouldn't I? A friend of mine was killed. Why should I let that go?
You saw the real killer. Tell me who it was.
Want to know what I saw? I saw a bloody newcomer rush in, murder Johannes, and stroll out like it was no big deal.
Do you have a series of crazy razor blade scars on your eyebrow? Because that's just a trip to look at. It's a very different town when you can run for mayor that way.
You're certain it was a newcomer. How can you be so sure?
Trust me, Oakmonters know a newcomer when they see one. We locals can tell.
I know a newcomer when I see one, but I can't tell. I got face blindness and can't tell you guys apart. I'm from the Zero Escape franchise. This is a... how could you not tell that I'm not the same... You saw him in plain light? He's got to be framing me, right? Like, I know he's supposed to be like the racist stand-in of like, I hate everyone that's not from my group of people, bah. But like, basic details, right?
You know I didn't do it.
Quite the opposite, Reed. I saw your face. Or are you going to claim it wasn't yours?
You seem like a rational man, Pearce. Can't we come to an arrangement?
Are you attempting to bribe a politician, Mr. Reed? What makes you think I'd accept such an offer?
I'm sorry. I must be thinking of a different Milton Pearce.
But let me tell you, my beloved mother is so old and so rich. I'll miss her dearly when she's gone.
Well, that's a non sequitur.
Mr. Reed, how do I put this? I find my campaign hamstrung by a distinct lack of resources.
So it's about the money after all.
I fear that all the budget pressures are affecting my cognition. If the situation were improved, perhaps I'd see things more clearly. For instance, I might suddenly realize I'd mistaken you for someone else. You could even remind me of whom.
He wants me to kill his own mother. Also, you guys use bullets as money, right? Can I just give you bullets? I could just give you bullets. What do you need? 4? Like, nobody ever seems to need that many bullets anyway, which is apparently the currency around here. But
I could just kill you, you know.
Great idea. Kill the only witness while being investigated for murder. I'm sure the police will understand.
That's reasonable. But you're assuming, after all I've seen and done in this damn place, I still listen to reason.
Threatening a mayoral candidate. You truly are a newcomer.
How could you propose such a thing? Against your own mother, no less. You're a heartless monster. I won't do it.
Don't get emotional, Reed. Go for a walk. Breathe the salty air, then picture your execution. Perhaps with some perspective, you'll reconsider.
I doubt it.
Whatever you say, sir. I'll just leave you this bottle and her address anyway. And Reed, don't come back here after. People shouldn't see me with you.
okay.
So, how's my dear mother doing?
They are really hardlining into this. Can I use this as evidence, though, that we just gave me? According to Milton Pearce, Vanderburg was killed by a newcomer that was blackmailed. If Milton Pearce is correct, the man who shot Vanderburg is a newcomer. I learned that he married recently and was forced to commit a crime out of fear for his family. There should be a marriage license somewhere that might help me find him. Exactly. Milton Pearce, the sellout. Milton Pearce wants to become mayor of Oakmont. He testified against me in the case of Vanderburg's murder. Did he do that? Nope. Enough strychnine to kill an adult human with plenty to spare. I can use it to poison Agatha Pearce if I want to put in some kind of food or drink. Or I could hold on to it and use it for something else. Fuck off. I'm not killing his mom for him, that's silly. But I am conveniently, I think, in the same building that'll give me access to marriage licenses.